Let's get to some answers. You wrote this book. How has it changed your own life? Do you have any takeaways for avoiding distractions? And
I mean, the big takeaway I have is like retraining yourself to be alone with your own thoughts. I think making sure that you spend at least 20 minutes a day, every day, just with your thoughts is a really important practice. And that can be like not listening to a podcast on your drive to the grocery store. Or for me, I take a walk every day. And part of that walk, I'm doing my show call, but part of it, I'm just with my thoughts, and I've stopped listening to a podcast or an audiobook, which is my normal default mode. Sometimes I'll try to do that on the commute, but it's hard. That's really hard on the subway. To just sit there, which is what I used to do once upon a time. So that's a small thing. The bigger thing is that it's not an individual problem, it's not a self-help problem, it's a structural problem about the market mechanisms, the technology, the institutional balance of power, and collective action, as all big social problems are. And so it takes collective solutions. And I think those collective solutions are gonna, I feel incredibly confident that we're at a kind of nadir on this problem right now.
what gives you confidence?
Because people don't like it. Like, no, first of all, no one, you write this book and no one's like, what are you talking about? This is awesome. We love looking at our phones all the time. Like, the information environment is great. Like, everyone, it's like traffic. It's across party lines, across ideological, the same way that everyone complains. You go to any town in America and talk about traffic, right? I know that's true in Houston. Right. But I would have gotten the same laugh in Atlanta, and I would have gotten the same laugh in LA, right? Because it's universal, right? So, and one of the things about traffic, right, is that it's a hard problem to solve. But there are ways in which other places have slowly but surely been trying to take this amazing technology that was the car, that remade our lives, and then produces the set of negative externalities, and deal with those negative externalities. And there's something similar with the attention age. The mental sense of distraction, confusion, and the kind of car sickness of the soul that is produced at a kind of ubiquitous ambient level of our inner and public lives, no one likes it. And if no one likes it, it's not going to last.
Well, is this like junk food led to the organic food movement?
Yeah.
What do you see?
Yeah, so I write at some length in the last chapter about this parallel, which is, there's these meme accounts of like recipe books or dishes from the 70s and 80s that are like the peak world of processed food. Like a Campbell's soup casserole and a Jell-O salad. And they're very funny, right? And the reason they're funny is they identify a period where a process of market mechanisms and technologies had produced this sort of insanely overprocessed food culture that was a kind of dead end, even if people at the time who were publishing the recipe books with the Jell-O salads didn't realize it was a dead end. And what happened is people began to rebel against it in all kinds of ways. Hippies and freaks did back to the land, and they started natural food stores, and they started whole grain stores, and they started an organic food movement, and they started a slow food movement and farm-to-table restaurants, and there were journalists who were writing increasingly about the perfidy of mass industrial food production, particularly CAFOs and animal treatment. There were people who started to find businesses. There were regulations people started passing. The entire sort of cultural, political movement in different ways, Michael Pollan, a key figure in this, basically saying this system sucks and it's bad for us and we don't like it. And it has a bunch of things going for it because it has the kind of smooth, efficient logic of hypercapitalism, but it leaves out a bunch of other things that we want. And it would have seemed insane in 1970 when you walked into the newly named natural food store in Austin, Whole Foods, to say this is going to be a $10 billion business someday. But that's where we are. Now, there's all sorts of problems with the commodification of that and Amazon, yada, yada. But my point is that what started as a sort of small set of rebellions and social movements and quirky entrepreneurs cohered into a mass cultural and political regulatory movement against the particular vision of hyper-processed industrial food production that had dominated. And we are at the incipient moment of that with attention. Like, we are just starting to we're going to get our farmers markets, and people are going to start banning phones from places, and people are going to start producing dumb phones, which are going to start selling like crazy. People are going to, the platforms all have declining daily active users. This is true, except for WhatsApp, basically. They're all either stable or going down. Not a good sign. The problem is going to be almost certainly exacerbated by AI and like synthetic human interaction, which is going to be its own kind of like bizarre nightmare. And so this energy around this, you can feel it, is going to lead people to come up with new ways of being, new ways of paying attention to each other that are explicit rebellions against this. And I feel more certain of this than almost anything else.